You're welcome to Jedala Fashion Guide. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make box pleats. Box pleats usually added to a dress or a skirt. So in today's video, we'll be learning how to form the pleat. Now, one thing about the box pleat is that they are of equal sizes and they are close to each other or next to each other without no gap in between. So they are very close to each other. Now, to be able to make a box pleat, there are some measurements that we need and some calculations that we need to make before we can begin to form the pleat. Now, assuming we have a waist of 35, like the customer's waist is 35, and the total length or the total width of fabric is 3 yards. 3 yards of fabric. 3 yards of fabric, that is 36 inches. You know, a yard is 36, so assuming we have 3 yards of 36 inches, 36 multiplied by 3 is 108. So we have 108 inches as the total width, and the waistline we are working with is 35. Now we are going to consider sewing allowance. The sewing allowance will cover the zipper allowance and the joining allowance. So let's say our sewing allowance is 2 inches on both sides. On both sides. Two inches each, making a total of 4. On one side 2 inches, on the other side 2 inches, making a total of 4. Now, by the time we add the waist plus the sewing allowance, we are going to be having 35 plus 4, which is 39. The next thing to do is to subtract this 39 from the 108. We subtract it from the 108. And that will give us 69. Okay, 10, borrow one for your plate here, 18. 18 minus 9 is 9. You have 9 left. 9 minus 3 is 6, which is 69. The next thing to consider is the number of pleats that we intend to have on the outfit. Remember that the pleats, box pleats are not usually too many. Okay, so depends on the style. The maximum is 6. You can go for 8, but let's say we are going for 6. Assuming the number of pleats is 6. We are going to be multiplying this 69 by 6. Dividing 69 by 6 to know how much each pleat will be, and that will give us 11.5. Now we need 11.5 for each pleat. 11.5 for each pleat. And remember that we need 11.5 for each pleat. And remember that a box pleat is usually folded. It's usually folded like this. Okay, that is us to form a box pleat. So to be able to achieve that, first of all, this 11.5 divided by 2, and that will give us 5.75. So to know the pleat width, we divide 11.5 by 2, and that will give us 5.75. And by the time we approximate that, we have 5.8. So this is 11.5. Half of that will give us 5.75. And then we further divide it again, because when we are forming the pleat, it's going to be like this. So half of that is going to be on one side and half of that will be on the other side. So 5 3/4 with 5.75, divide it again by 2, and that will give us, let me call it 2.4, because this is 2 1/4 then plus 1/8. In my other video I taught us how to read the tape, so you can check the video to know how to read that, to know how to read the tape. You can check my previous video on that. So 5.8 is here. If you divide that into 2, you are going to be having this is what you are going to be having, not up to 3. Okay, you just have 2.5, 2.75, and then the next one you add it to it. So after this 0.5, you count 1 2 3 4, and that is where it will end. So we further divide that by, so each side of pleat, each side of pleat will be 5.8 divided by 2, which is, if you are dividing this by 2 into here is 2, you are going to be having 2.9. Okay, that's what you are going to be having, close to 3. You're going to be having 2.9. Okay, that is what you need for each side, so it will not get to 3. You just stop here. You stop at the line before 3. So having known these measurements, the next thing is to know how to mark it out. How do you now mark it out? Now on the fabric, we are going to be practicalizing it with the fabric, but I want to explain first, so that by the time we start doing it on fabric, it will be very easy. Now, assuming this is our fabric, the allowance, we say we are using 2 inches on both sides. So on both sides, you take out the allowance, 2 inches. You take out 2 inches. On the other side, you also take out 2 inches. You also mark out 2 inches on both ends of the fabric. So this will take care of the zipper and the sewing allowance, or the joining allowance, on both sides. Then the 2.9, you also mark it out on both sides. Remember, I didn't get to 3. You also mark it out. Okay, so you can put a pin there in your fabric to know it, or just use your chalk to mark it. So after you have marked out 2.9, the next thing you are going to do is to mark out the total width of the pleat, which we calculated as 11.5. We said one pleat, we need to take 11.5 to make one pleat. So you now mark out 11.5. You place your pin here, and then you take this place to come and join here and pin it, after which you spread it out, and then it will occupy here and here. You take this to join this, you pin it, and then you now spread it. It will now occupy here and here, so that you now have the wideness of the plate as 5.8. This is what I mean. You take the 11, you mark the 11.5, you bring it to where you have, to this part, you bring it there like this, and then you spread it like this. Right, so from here to here, from here to here will now be 5.8. So we are through with the first pleat. You also mark out 2.9 again, and then 11.5. That is how you continue until you make your 6 box pleats. So let's go to the table to practicalize it. Welcome back to the practical part of the box plate. Our fabric, we said we'll get the total length of fabric. Our total length of fabric, or total width of fabric, sorry. Our fabric width is 48 inches. For this illustration, is 48 inches, and we are working with a waistline of 14. We are working with a waistline of 14, and we are working with a sewing allowance of 2 inches. 14 plus 2, we say we add the waist and the sewing allowance together, we have 16, and then we say we subtract that from the total width of fabric. So 48 minus 16, we have 32 inches left, and we said the next thing is to determine how many pleats that we want to have. In this tutorial, I want to have 6 pleats, so I'll divide the remaining part by the 6 to know the length of each pleat, to know the wideness or to know the length of each pleat. So 32 divided by 6, I have 5.3, and we explained that 5.3 is, this is 5 with quarter. So to be able to get 5 quarter is even as 5.25. 5.25, and when we are approximate that, we'll actually get 5.3, but we do not want shortages, so we can go for the next. We can add this, we can use this, and then we'll divide that by 2. Okay, we'll divide that by 2, and we'll have this. When we divide 5.3 by 2, we have 2.65, and when we approximate that, is 2.7. So on the tape, I've taught us how to read the tape. On the tape, you can use this 2.75. okay, and then we say that we'll be dividing that again by 2. If we divide further, we are going to have 1.33, which is across to the nearest one decimal place is 1.3. So 5.3 divided by 2, I have this, and then I divide that again, and then I have this. So that means each side of the pleat we have this. So I haven't calculated that. Instead of fabric, I'm using 2 inches on my sewing allowance. 2 inches is for the both sides, so divide that by 2, you have 1 inch. So 1 inch on one side, 1 inch on the other side. So on my fabric, I'll first of all mark out the 1 inch. This illustration, you need pins. So I'll mark out the 1 inch, which is the allowance. After which, I will now mark out the 1.3, which we are using for each side. After marking out the 1.3, I will now mark out the total length of the pleat, which is 5.3. I'll say 5.3 is here. So with your pin, at that point that you marked 1.3, you put your pin, you place your pin there. Place your pin there, and then the point that you marked the 5, there you marked your 5.3. This point is 5.3. You take it to meet where your pin is, like this. This one will be in front, so you now pin it there. After pinning it, you now open it like this. This mark will guide you on the wideness of each side. Sorry, 1 point is here. That's why it's good to always place your pin, then double check again. You double check again to be sure that you are correct. Then from that point, you mark the 5.3. This is 5.3. You take that point to meet here, to meet where you have the pin, and then you pin it. Then you spread it out. See, this is correct now. To meet here, you know that half of it is already here, then the other half will be on the other side. Then you can now use your pin to secure it in place. So we have formed the first plate. So the pleat width is 2.65. So let's check if we have 2.65. Did you see that? So it is correct. So you go ahead to form the next pleat. You first of all mark out the 1.3. 1.3 is here. You place your pin there. Place your pin. (1.3). 1.3 is here. Then from there you mark your 5 points. You mark the total length, which is 5.3. You take that place to where you have the pin. You can use a chalk to mark so that you don't make mistake, and then you pin it there. So you have formed the second plate. You now open it up. Did you see that? So that was the second. So that is how you are going to continue until you have your 6 pleats. Right now I have 2. I'll mark out 1.25 again, 1.3. If you don't know how to read 1.3, you can mark 1.125. Okay, but we said to be on the safer side that we should use the one after the quarter line. You place your pin there. You mark out the total length of pleats, the wideness. We are using 5.3. You mark that out. That is also the line before the line after the quarter, before the 0.5 line. You mark it. Then you take that part to where you have your pin already. Then you pin it. After pinning, you spread this. By the time you spread it, half of it is on this side, half of it is on this side. So you be careful, because they are supposed to be the same widening. You see it to be the same. You mark the next one again. 1.3. Put your pin there. Mark out 5.3. Mark it. You take it to where your pin is. use your pin to secure it, then you open it. You open it and then use your pin to secure it. Go ahead, I've done 4. Place your pin, mark out the 5.3. You take it to where you have your pin. Use the pin to secure it. Then you open it, shade it into 2 equal parts. Use your pin to secure it. So we have 5 plates already. So let's make the 6th. Bring it here. And then you open it. So we are supposed to have a 1-inch allowance left. We are having about half. That's because we made use of the line after the quarter line. So you can just make use of the quarter, because the quarter is 0.25, and by the time you approximate 0.25, you can actually have 0.3. So let's see if we have the required lengths. Require weight. The waistline we work with 14. You see that 14. So plus the allowances. Now I'm having 15.5, which is still okay. Okay. So that is how to form the box pleat. So when you are through, you take it to the ironing table. You press it so that you can create the line for you. You press it before, that is, you iron it down before you now join it to the outfit that you want to make. So you see how beautiful it is. That is our box. That is how to make box pleat. Thank you very, very much for joining me. If you find this tutorial helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel.